Now, Markus, what role do you see for the African diaspora here in Austria and in Europe? And can you let us know what you think about the role in the area of development cooperation, but also business cooperation, please?
First of all, I would like to start by thanking Martin Woller and his team for reaching out and extending the invitation and opening the doors for the diaspora to be a part of this important conversation that we're having today. A conversation about Africa, a conversation about Austria, and a conversation about development. Now, there are over 270 definitions of the word diaspora. The one that I prefer has been brought forward by the African Union, and it designates the diaspora as the 6th region of Africa, comprising of people who live outside of Africa with African descent and who are willing to contribute to African development. While there is uncertainty about the actual size, so how many people live inside the diaspora, with estimates in Austria and Germany and Europe ranging significantly, there seems to be a thing that everybody can agree upon, which is the economic and social significance of the diaspora, which leads me to the first part of the question about the role in development. I believe that in the public development efforts, the diaspora plays a crucial role, a role of bridging the gap between international development actors and local communities, because development projects, especially on a local scale, often depend in their success and sustainability to a large extent on community involvement. And I believe that the diaspora can contribute to building a relationship with local communities. Concretely in this respect, I propose an advisory role of the diaspora, contributing to the policy development processes, but also an active role as an interlocutor between development actors and local communities. Now, with development institutions only recently and somewhat hesitantly realizing and appreciating the full potential of the diaspora in development, it is no wonder that the overwhelming majority of the contribution to development of the diaspora has been privately, be it through human capital exchange, technological transfers, knowledge exchange, but most importantly, remittances. We cannot talk about the contribution of the diaspora without talking about remittances. In 2022, the diaspora contributed over $95 billion in money being sent back to the continent, which far exceeds the complete official development assistance and also far exceeds foreign direct investment. And with the development stakeholders realizing the significance of these financial flows, there's been an increased effort to channel them into more coordinated and more productive investments, which leads to the role of the diaspora in business. Diaspora entrepreneurs play a crucial role on the continent in many industries, such as agri-tech, fintech, but also traditional industries such as gastronomy, seeking to contribute, leveraging their networks. And to illustrate this, I would like to tell a short personal story. When I was in Senegal, I attended an event hosted by Professor Mouhamadou Lamine Sagna, former professor of Princeton University, where I met a man who, in his late 20s, left a well-paid job in France to come back to Senegal, to the city where his parents grew up, and build a business there, contribute to development. And within less than 10 years, has established a profitable business that employs over 200 people in his parents' home community. So if you ask me about the role of the diaspora, his role was making lasting impact in his parents' community. And I see many people of the diaspora here in this room today. Each of their roles might be different. The African diaspora in Austria can contribute to Austrian businesses as well by leveraging their networks and by leveraging also their understanding of the local business environment. And while it remains uncertain how this role will change, I believe that it is certain that the diaspora has established itself as a crucial stakeholder in development and business and is determined to stay. With that being said, I thank you very much for your time and attention and also your enthusiasm about development and business in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Markus WANE. Now please welcome Joana Adesuwa REITERER. Apart from being a filmmaker and human rights advocate, Joana Adesuwa REITERER is an entrepreneur who established her first business in fashion and film by the age of 16, back then in your hometown, Benin City. Nowadays, she supports entrepreneurs in Austria and Nigeria, and she even delayed her flight back to Nigeria to be with us here today. That's a big honor. Thank you. And we're waiting for yours. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation and this opportunity to talk about the role of diaspora in development of partnerships and businesses between the African continent and Europe. I run a company called Joandre, and we are on a mission to help African entrepreneurs harness their ideas for the upliftment of the African continent. But today it's not about my company. I am a diaspora. It's about what we diasporas can do, what we bring to the table, what we have been doing. And I see the role of many diasporas already doing something now, already on the continent, already here doing something. I see the role as more of building a bridge, connecting ideas, connecting opportunities, connecting businesses, but all individually unique. So what we bring is this collective uniqueness to the table. But also, what I see is diasporas creating a table. I'm done with trying to have a seat on the table. I want a table. So that's one major role I see diasporas, after spending time in Europe, gaining from the experiences here, adding to the experiences here. It's time to create a table so that you all can have seats on that table. You know, about 20 years ago, I was invited to go on a mountain in Austria called Schneeberg, the snow mountain. And coming from a background that, well, you literally had to force me in Nigeria to go on a stroll on, just on the road. So I went, I did all my research, I prepared, took a map, asked friends, prepared as much as I could. Well, I've not been on Schneeberg, so I don't know what I'm expecting. So I get there with the best sandal and sneakers that I love to wear in summer. Well, I've been wearing the sneakers for 100 years, so why can't I wear it on Schneeberg, right? But thank God I had a network of friends who, they have walked this experience. They've gone to Schneeberg. They spent the 10 hours there. They came with hiking boots for me. Well, I didn't know you had to warm the boots up. But I used the boots, and thank God after 8 hours, I enjoyed the summit. So that's pretty much like what we could do. You know, we are those friends that are here right now. Because to build any business, you need to be prepared. Better prepared than me wearing that sandals to Schneeberg. To build any business, you need good relationships. And these good relationships, well, they're right here in Europe. You know, you could just go for a coffee. You could start meeting the diverse diasporas. Because diasporas, African diasporas, just like the African continent, is so diverse. I come from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. I can't tell you how things run in the north. That's how diverse it is. So now we have the opportunity here in Europe with so many diasporas, because for us as diasporas, Europe is also home. We own spaces here as well. So you have the opportunity to network with us, to tell us if you want to hike the Schneeberg, and we'll figure out what exactly you need to do that. And in the 20 years that I have built projects between Nigeria and diverse European countries, one element it's always the game changer for me, and that is cultural insight and understanding. There are so many theoretical explanations of this, but when you're on ground, it's different, right? So, and that is, there are nuances of doing businesses around the world. This is not an African thing. No matter if you come, well, when I started my business in Austria, I was like, seriously, all these forms, I need to fill them, you know? So there are nuances of doing businesses everywhere around the world. And these nuances, they vary, but understanding how to navigate these nuances will actually reduce your risk. Risk become manageable. It will open doors to engagement in communities. You will actually realize that, oh, well, I'm done trying to find the perfect partner, because the perfect partner, it's not actually waiting for you to come. So I'm actually ready and prepared right now to build with the perfect partner. So what if we just lay down all the nice or bad experiences, the stereotypes and cliches, what we've done before and what didn't work and work. We just lay that out on the street and be prepared to look through an Afrocentric lens. What would you see? How would you see your product? Would you redesign your solution with a design thinking approach where you already from the onset integrate the needs of that perfect partner that you will have at the end? So I invite you today to network, to share your ideas, to listen to our ideas, and maybe we'll just find that synergy to build something. To African diasporas, the African diasporas, it's not just a community. We are a force of transformation. So we are ready. We're ready to build bridges with you. But now it's up to you to decide if you want to be a catalyst for change. So thank you very much for being attentive, for listening. And I look forward to sharing more insights and connections with you outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Joana Adesuwa REITERER. Our next speaker is Lwanda Simiyu. He is an international business consultant specialized in project development and financial structuring of visible projects, mainly in the emerging market of Eastern Africa. Michael, can you please give us now your opinion on the African diaspora and its relevance in the area of business cooperation, please?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'll start by appreciating and thanking the Austrian Federal Chamber of Commerce for organizing this wonderful event, and at the same time creating this wonderful platform for the Austrian businesses or European businesses that have interest into Africa, and also putting them together with the African businesses. I'll start with a very African proverb or a saying. I hope most of you have heard it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, let's do it together. Africa, or I'll say Austria or Europe, has a very vibrant diaspora, African diaspora, that is. We have in the diasporan community, the African diasporan community in Europe, we have expatriates, we have students, we have entrepreneurs, we've just heard from a good sister here. These people, they have a lot to offer to support businesses into Africa. I myself, as a diasporan, as an African diaspora, I see myself as a pathfinder, a relationship builder, business relationship builder, a connector. So doing business in Africa, just like elsewhere in the globe or in the world, is about building connections, building good connections, building good business relationships. So what do I mean? Or from the experiences that I've had in the last 8 years doing business between Austria or Europe and Africa. I'll give you an equation or a scenario. There are two ends of the coin, or the two different sides of the coin. There is the European side that is very well developed, has well-developed products. They have very formal procedure of doing business and processes. And then there's this other side of the African side that looks the opposite. Despite of all what we've had today from all the speakers here, from the president to the famous footballer, about the tremendous opportunities that we have in Africa. The point is, how do we bridge this gap? Because we all want to go to Africa and take advantage of all those opportunities that are there, that we've had. A youthful population, a fast-growing population, industrializing, urbanizing, and all that. That calls for having a deeper understanding of the African market. The entrepreneur or the investor or the businesses from Europe have to have a paradigm shift of how to do business in Africa. It's not business as usual. You have to go in there ready to roll your sleeves. You have to have boots on the ground. You have to talk to the people. You have to understand deep what are their needs. What is the purpose of what they are doing? Once we do that, I think we shall be successful. So a little bit of a few keywords or successful words to go. I mean, a little bit of takeaway. The first takeaway is diaspora. The African diaspora is very vibrant. It has a lot to offer, very experienced, a lot of expertise in different fields that can handhold the businesses, the entrepreneurs from Europe into Africa. The second thing is the European companies or entrepreneur or businesses have to invest time. They have to invest time. Even sometimes you have to invest your resources, whether it's the products you're offering or the services. And even you need to invest money so that you can get more money. And I think if we all do that, we shall be successful. So please, just like my sister said, I look forward to, I can see in the audience, I already have partners that I'm working with. We are creating long-term success stories. I can see Paul is here. We are working with him. CMS is a very successful company in Austria that does a milling system. Comtech, I'm working with Markus, who was here before. We are building long-term business relationship in East Africa together, and many others. So what I can say is that let us engage. Please, the companies, be open. Don't think about the risk so much, because that's always the talk, or that's always the thinking, the mindset. Oh, Africa is a farm market, is a riskier market. Let's change the mind. Let's work closely with this diaspora. Diaspora will bridge the gap, because they understand the both worlds. Of that equation that I said, very formal market, very clear procedures, and this other side that is not so clear, that they have their own way of doing things, and also the culture differences, the diaspora is sitting in between, and the diaspora can really help. With all few remarks, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, Lwanda, Simiyu, and now we have one more example to come. Welcome, Frances Ori. She's a former marketing officer at the ADVANTAGE Austria in Lagos. Her job was to be eyes and ears on the ground to identify business opportunities, and now that she's back in Austria, she knows exactly and has plenty of recommendations on how Austrian businesses should behave or should work or should engage in Nigeria, and especially with the help of the African diaspora here in Austria and Europe. The stage is yours. Thank you, Frances.
I was born to Nigerian parents in the early 80s. And I have to say, and if I think about it, I had a very privileged upbringing. I went to private schools all my life. I made it through to my matura, even though my teacher told me that I wouldn't. And I was very confused about what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And anyone that is Nigerian in the crowd knows exactly what the options were. It's either you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, or you're a doctor. I wasn't going to be any of those. I decided to move to London to study. And even before I graduated, I got a job with the National Health Service. I was very excited about that, and part of my role was specifically working with Black minority ethnic groups. Now, I've never heard about that term, Black minority ethnic groups. It's very clear what it is, but I was very surprised and astonished at the fact that you had government organizations and projects and NGOs offering services and projects that were specifically for a specific demographic because that particular demographic had specific needs. I did that for a couple of years, 7 or so, and then I met my husband. My husband at the time was living in Nigeria, and I was always curious about Nigeria. I'd only been to Nigeria twice in my life with my parents. It's very expensive if you have a family of 5. And when he and I decided that we were going to move to Nigeria, I was elated. I thought it was exciting. I was really chuffed about the opportunity. And I got to Lagos, and literally within a month, I was offered a job at the Austrian Embassy Commercial Section, also known as ADVANTAGE AUSTRIA Lagos. And I spent 10 years working there. I started off as an assistant to the commercial counselor, and then worked my way. Let me be honest, I didn't quite work my way up. The marketing officer died, actually. It's a really sad story, and I'm not laughing because it's funny. But I did work my way up to becoming the marketing officer. And I'll tell you what, all through this journey, I struggled, really struggled with understanding what my talents were, what my gifts were. I wasn't a great student, but I had great relational skills. And I also didn't realize that it would favor me when I started working at the office. And so when my colleagues or the commercial counselor tried to make calls, book appointments, reach out to communities, a lot of people struggled, and I didn't. And I realized that coming from a migrant background was a thing of pride. It was exciting, and I'm emotional about this because this is very personal to me. I didn't realize that having parents that were not like the average Austrian parent, that were strict and had strong, strong values when it comes to different things, I didn't realize that that also meant that I was exposed to a culture that I wasn't necessarily living in, but I was going to be exposed to. And so the 10 years that I spent at the commercial section of the Austrian Embassy enabled me to build bridges. Well, I say build bridges because that's a popular term, right? I wasn't doing anything special, I was just being myself. I was just privy to cultural nuances that other people weren't. I understood what respect meant, how important it is to the local community. I understood that even though I was foreign, I couldn't just shake someone that was older than me with my hand. And I'll share this example. When I met the First Lady of Lagos State, the former commercial counselor and I met her at the entrance of the hotel, and he shook her with confidence, as he would, and anyone that knows Guido Stock knows that he has a great presence. And so he shook her, and as she extended her hand to me, I courtesied. And that's how we greet elders in Africa. And I had no excuse because it was obvious that I was African, but at the same time, even though I look it, I lived and was brought up in a culture that was very different. But I noticed that she saw it. She saw me. We connected, our eyes met, and she acknowledged me in that moment. That moment spoke volumes, because even though I was just working and doing my job, she initially noticed that I was aware of who I was, or what I represented, but more so, we built trust in that moment. And I'm not gonna share any stats. And I'm also not gonna share advantages or disadvantages. I'm also not gonna talk about like the risks, you know, and opportunities. I think there's so much information out there, and I think we've heard a lot today. A lot. What I really wanna do is, I wanna challenge you. I remember, and I think about this all the time, I always wonder why I never really knew what I wanted to be. My dad worked for the UN all his life, and that was great, but my mom was on the other end of the spectrum. And I'll leave that to your imagination. A woman in her 30s with 4 kids who barely spoke German. Tell me what kind of job you think she did. And so I think one of the things that I struggled with was that there was no representation. I didn't see people in interesting roles that looked like me. And I think my challenge to you today is to really look at your workforce. I think the Diaspora is a great partner. Of course, if you meet someone who offers consultancy services and your values align, by all means, engage them, you know? But I also feel that if you come across someone who seems to have potential and you have a job opportunity and it matches what it is that you're looking for, extend grace. And if it also just means that, you know, your network could be more diverse and you meet someone that is different, you know, be open-minded to learn and also hear other people's perspectives. I think, for me, the big words and the big takeaways for today seem to be buzzwords. They fly around and they're big in other countries. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think those are the things that I'd like to leave you with today. Let's not just leave it as buzzwords, but let's embrace the diversity, not merely as a corporate buzzword, but as a cornerstone for growth. Thank you.